Hi, welcome to my podcast. This is not on purpose. Before we start, I want you to picture something, like in your head. We're standing somewhere quiet, like a coffee shop or a classroom, a line that you can't leave without making it obvious, right? You're not, you're not doing anything wrong, and then your body does something you didn't ask it to do, whether it's a sound, a movement, a noise that feels 10 times louder than it actually is. Heads turn, somebody stares just a bit too long, someone whispers quietly, but not quiet enough. What's wrong with him? What's going on over there? The worst part is you felt it coming. That pressure, the warning signal, that moment where you think, please not now. And it happens anyway. That's what it's like to live with Tourette's. If you don't live with it, this podcast is me letting you borrow my nervous system for a while. When it first shows up, different for different people. For me, I didn't have a word Tourette's when I was a kid. What I had were comments. Why do you keep doing that? Stop making that noise. Sit still. Are you doing this on purpose? I remember being in elementary school. I don't remember which grade, but I remember the feeling, right? Sitting at the desk, trying to keep my body quiet, trying to be invisible. And then my shoulders would jerk, or my eyes would blink hard, or it'd make this little noise with my throat. Nothing huge, nothing dramatic, but enough. Enough for the kid beside me to notice, enough for the teacher to stop mid sentence and look directly at me. That look, like not angry, just tired, like I was the disappointment, or I was the disruption in the class. Growing up, you just hear the term try harder. At home, it wasn't much clearer. My parents weren't cruel by any means. They just didn't have a framework for what they were seeing. This isn't something that was widely known in the 70s. So I got things like, can you stop? Do you even realize you're doing it? Just try harder. And here's the thing, like when you're a kid and adults tell you try harder, you believe them. So you try, you clench your jaw, you tense your shoulders, and you hold your breath, and then you turn your body into a prison. And when it still happens, you don't think, oh, this is neurological. No, you're thinking, I failed. That sticks to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, people often ask me, what does a tick feel like? Like, as a kid, anyway. Um, like this, here's something I didn't have words for back then. A tick doesn't come out of nowhere. It builds up. As a kid, it felt like electricity under my skin. Something crawling around inside my chest. Think aliens. Well, not exactly, but you get the picture. Like, if I didn't let it out, it was going to explode. But you don't want to explode in class. So you're bargaining with yourself, right? You're like, one more minute, your class is almost over, wait until recess, wait until no one's looking. Oh, excuse me. Holding in a tick is like holding in a sneeze forever. Eventually your body wins. And when it does, everybody assumes you chose that moment. But you didn't. School, I feel, is a stage you didn't audition for. You know, in school, it's brutal when your body won't cooperate. Because school is built on rules, right? Like, let's all get that straight. Sit still, be quiet, don't interrupt. I remember one teacher pulling me aside, not unkindly, and saying, "You're distracting the other students." I remember thinking, so am I the problem? Kids notice everything, they imitate you, they exaggerate your movements. They turn your nervous system into a joke. And sometimes they don't even mean harm. They're just curious. But curiosity still hurts when you're the exhibit. Humor. Humor is armor. Somewhere along the way, I learned something important. If I laughed first, it hurt less. So it became funny. It became funny, self-deprecating quickly. I'll tell you that much. I'd make jokes about myself before one else could, and that works for a while. The humor's heavy when you wear it every day. Sometimes you just want to exist without being entertaining. Sometimes, you know, people that don't understand, I always get the question, can you stop? Um, can you stop? And I get it. It seems logical. Like, why would you sit there just blinking or twitching or whatever, right? So here's the honest answer. I can suppress tics for a short period of time, but it does cost me. It costs focus, it costs energy, it costs peace. By the end of the day, I'm not tired because I work too hard. As you can tell, the fact that I'm yawning through this entire video, my apologies. I'm tired because I spent hours trying to look normal. It's not lazy, that's survival, The moment you're being watched, like there's a moment usually, especially in childhood, when you realize something important, people are watching you. People watch you every day, not because you're special, but because you're different. Once that switch flips, it never fully turns off. You enter rooms like scanning faces, you know, you feel the tick before it happens and the judgment afterwards, right? I mean, the awareness becomes background noise in your life. At this point, 54, I'm sort of gotten used to it, but it's still there, you know what I mean? What Tourette's is not, let me be clear, Tourette's is not lack of intelligence, personality flaw, or even bad parenting. It's not a phase, right? Something you can't outgrow because this is uncomfortable. It doesn't mean someone is broken. It means their nervous system improvises without permission, right? Why am I doing this? Now, I didn't start this podcast to educate from a podium. I started because I got tired of hearing Tourette's talked about without us in the room. Reduced to clips, viral videos, to jokes, moments with no context. Like, you can think about behind every tick is a kid in a classroom, an adult in a meeting, a person negotiating space in the world. This isn't about pity. It isn't about being seen accurately, and yeah, it's about taking the mic back. Sorry, it's about being seen accurately, and yeah, it's about taking the mic back. In closing, if you're listening and you grew up being to try harder, I see you. If you're listening and this is new to you, thanks for staying. My next episode, we're talking about public life, staring, whispering, and why sometimes silence hurts more than laughter. This is not on purpose, and none of this, not then, and not now, was ever on purpose. Thank you for watching. Stay strong.